Hi everyone, it's me Catalina, your favorite guest host for Unfinished Business Rough Cuts. I've convinced Jeffrey to let me review 12 Years a Slave. I actually just saw it. I know I'm pretty late, but it really touched me and it made quite an impact, and so I kind of wanted to say a few words about it. So, okay, I just want to say or explain in the ways that this movie touched me. I feel like from beginning to end, it was just so intense, and some parts were really graphic for me to watch, and um, it was just very moving. Uh, and just like even with the actors and actresses, I was so impressed by them. Like they played such a tremendous role in bringing this story to life. So basically, as you know, it's based on Solomon Northup and his experience as a slave for 12 years after being kidnapped. And even from the very beginning, even when he is kidnapped, like the very first beating from the slave traders, like it was just so intense just because of the fact that here he is in a situation he's never, would never expect would occur to him. And he kept proclaiming that he was a free man, and they basically beat the crap out of him. They beat that out of him. He was forced to accept that he's a slave. And even when he's given the name Platt by one of the slave traders, they pretty much like he has to take on this identity of someone that he just did not, that was not close to his life in any way. I don't think he was even aware of that sort of situation. But okay, so at the very beginning, he meets this woman who gets taken to this plantation, who's owned by William Ford, who he claims is like the nicest slave owner that he knows or whatever. And even then, it was very interesting to see like when they first get to that plantation, William Ford's wife, her dismissal towards this woman's kids, because she's separated from her kids, and so she's crying the whole time, and the woman is just kind of like, oh, just give her something to eat, like she's gonna forget this long before, like it's just kind of like, wow, like they really thought very little of the slaves. Another scene that really got to me was when the overseer, William Ford's overseer, I guess, is jealous of Solomon Northup because of I guess, the trust that he's instilled, or the trust that William Ford has instilled in Solomon Northup. And so he is just picking on him just because he feels like Solomon's too smart for his own good. And so Solomon, in a situation, tries to defend himself because he felt that he's wrong, and so he fights back. And because of this, the overseer rounds up another overseer, and they get together and they try to lynch him for it. And so someone tries to stop it, but even though it was prevented, he's still left hanging on, on a noose. And it's just kind of like he was clinging for his life. And that was a really tough scene to watch, and just seeing like everyone just kind of go about their business while they waited for William Ford to come and decide what he's going to do. He eventually gets sold into another slave owner, and this one is like so evil beyond words. And it's just like he encounters, or the one other slave that really stood out to me in the story was Patsy, and she was the object of the slave owner's attention. And so he just like, she was like the best one there. She worked the fastest, she picked the most cotton, and he would abuse her. He was obsessed by her. But not only did she suffer that from him, she also had to endure the fact that his wife was jealous of the fact that he was obsessed over her. So, she would take beatings from her. And so, and even her beating, there's a point in the movie where Michael Fassbender, who's playing the role of Epps, the slave owner, he like gets jealous because she's like at another plantation or whatever, and he assumes that she's run away or whatever. So she comes back, and he gets really upset, and he doesn't believe that her story, or why she went away or whatever, why she took a walk. And so he like beats her so bad. And not only does he beat her, but he forces Solomon Northup to do it, to start off beating her. And it was the worst beating throughout the whole movie. Like, it was just so intense. I mean, I was surprised she was even alive after that. But that was just so, it was just so brutal and just so intense. And even there's a point in the movie, in the story, where she actually asks Solomon to like kill her because she feels like, what's the point? Like, I'm not comfortable in this life, was her line. And it was just so impactful. It affects me to this day. I saw it a couple weeks ago. But Just trying to think back about some other scenes that really got to me. Oh, for many times throughout the whole 12 years, he's tried to like get in touch with his family and prove the fact that he's not born into, that he's not, that he is a free man. And, you know, any chance that he gets, like, it's just something happens where it prevents that from happening or whatever, from him being able to get away. And at the same time, it kind of almost makes me feel a little guilty for like rooting for him, just because, oh, okay, he gets to get out of the situation, or he has hope just because he was a free man once. Like, it's just also like, what about everyone else that's in this situation, you know? And there's a line in the movie where him and some other slaves want to overthrow the slave owners or the slave traders. And one of the guys says, you know what, you know, these other slaves are not, they don't have the heart to fight against them. You know, he was like, they're born into this. Like, they're not going to be able to get out of the situation. And it was just so kind of like, you know, it was a little messed up to see that or whatever. And it's just crazy. I mean, I've never been affected by a movie in that sense. Like, it encouraged me to want to read Solomon Northup's memoir. And obviously he gets out of the situation. And what I guess really bothers me about the story, not so much the movie because this wasn't in the movie, but he tries to claim justice over what happened to him, and so he takes the kidnappers to court. But at that time, blacks couldn't testify against whites, so that was prohibited. So that was a very like strong point for me, because I just felt like, wow, you know, he couldn't even get justice over what had happened to him. But at the very same time, I feel like he was definitely a strong man. He was able to survive this whole situation and just, I mean, for 12 years, wow, and still was able to keep hope alive, and that's what I guess got him through it. But that was basically my experience with the movie, and like I said, I was very moved by it, and this is why I wanted to talk about it, and I want to encourage you to watch it if you haven't already. It was definitely awesome. That's pretty much it. Signing off, Catalina. Ciao.